You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
Hey, welcome into the latest edition of the Show Before the Show podcast, the official podcast of minor league baseball as we kick off the month of December. My name is Tyler Mon with Sam Dykstra and Benjamin Hill in New York City. Gentlemen, what's going on?
Generally, or
a bit.
Yeah.
More like in your lives. What's going on in your lives?
How was your Thanksgiving, Tyler?
It was delightful. It was, as you guys both know, normally I'm out there for Thanksgiving, but, of course, the last 2 years, things have been different. So last year did Thanksgiving, just me, my mom, my dad. This year, my aunt, uncle, and cousin who live in the city, live in Manhattan, who I normally visit for Thanksgiving, they actually came out here, which I don't believe they have ever done. So we did a Thanksgiving at my mom's house with the six of us, which was super fun. It was great. I've not weighed myself since. So in that respect, things are fine. How about you guys?
I assume you've just been working out until you can weigh yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Just a constant that and starvation / force feeding myself leafy greens. Which is the only way that I can eat them is force feeding.
Yeah, sure. If you say so, I'll believe you. I'll take you.
Wow. Did you just say that I look fat over Zoom, Sam? Is that basically what you were saying?
We have evidence that I did not say that. That's the whole point of a podcast, is that people know exactly.
We can go to the tape, the digital tape.
The tape, and everybody can hear that I said I trust you 100%, Tyler. No, Thanksgiving was good though. It was good to be around the family and back in person this year. That was a huge thing, going back to Connecticut. Being with my nephew and niece and them actually. Like my niece actually wanting turkey and knowing what turkey is this year. She was 1 year old last year. She's 2 now. Knowing all the stuff she wanted. We played games of like memory with her food and with my nephew's food of like have turkey, then cranberry, then potatoes, then carrots.
Okay.
Try to remember it. And then all of a sudden they had a clean plate. Like it was
that's a pretty good exercise. Yeah, that seems very good.
All credit to my brother-in-law who has to deal with these kids every day. So I'm sure he's at his creative wits.
He's figured out all the goals, all the games. Ben, you have a tiny human who you got to experience Thanksgiving with for the first time. What's I know Harry's obviously not at an age where you're setting down a giant plate of turkey and stuffing and mashed potatoes and everything in front of him. What was Thanksgiving like for you guys?
Yeah, Harry, he eats a lot of purees, a lot of finger foods, as it were. He loves food, though. But yeah, it was his Thanksgiving. We stayed in Brooklyn in our apartment, and my brother and his fiance came over, and it was very low key. It was my first turkey ever, as regards me actually making a turkey. I somehow made it this far in my life to being like the point man on the turkey, and it came out pretty well. But then, especially because I made it, and because I'm kind of compulsive in general, I was very into using all the leftovers and being really conscientious. And I got some good, not just sandwich type stuff, but some good post Thanksgiving meals out of it. But I think I pushed it a little too far in my quest to use everything. And maybe that's why I don't feel very good today.
Turkey carcass soup was this.
That sounds like something you get on a diner in the Southeast or somewhere. Oh, we're in Mobile, Alabama. And we're having turkey carcass soup. There are obviously so many things for us to discuss here on this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. But before we get to that, I just want to ask both of you this question: Thanksgiving dinner or leftovers? What's better?
Ben, you want to take this as somebody who's actually a connoisseur of this now?
I guess so.
I have my thoughts, but I want you to share yours.
No, I like leftovers, especially because it was a low key Thanksgiving, but I was like the point man for the whole meal. So I get very stressed. I'm just making a dinner for 2.
Yeah.
I'm very stressed about how it's going to come out. And so I just felt the pressure was on. So even though everything came out pretty well, I just didn't really relax and enjoy it. It was just kind of like, all right, let's do it. Okay, it's good. No one's dying. All right, this is great. But then Thanksgiving, you can then at night after a few drinks, you look in the refrigerator and you're like, yeah, I made this. I did.
Yeah.
This. I'm the best. And that's basically how my life goes, hating what I do in the moment and thinking I failed, and then reassessing it and being like, you know what, I think I'm okay.
Yeah, I get that. Sam, thoughts?
Honestly, I told Ben to go first just so I could organize my thoughts, because my first thought was, you want the genuine article. And I say this as somebody who didn't have to cook this year, but like, you want the freshest stuff, like as it comes out of the oven, right there, right to your plate. That being said, I will probably go with leftovers because there are no expectations for leftovers. I can make a sandwich that has stuffing, turkey, and a cranberry sauce as a condiment on it, and
it's going to be good regardless.
Right.
Just
like, mash all that stuff together.
Right. That makes sense.
Do what some might call the Boston Market special, which is just you get all the things and then you just swirl it all together.
Just slop it all together.
Yeah.
And that's my favorite thing about Thanksgiving. Yeah, exactly. It's my favorite thing is all of the flavors are so complementary. You can just throw it all in one giant bite, and it's right. I love it. It's my favorite. I'm with you. Well, this week's episode of the show before the show, obviously a little bit different one, but we're kicking it off in our requisite modes of insanity because, that's what people expect from us here on this friendly neighborhood minor league baseball podcast. The Spotify Wrapped WRAPPEDS are coming out for people. We already heard from people yesterday whose top podcast of the year was this very podcast, the Minor League Baseball podcast. Shout out to Dax Littleton, who submitted that to us on Twitter, which was very cool. And, just hearing from, I've actually over the last few months been more randomly told by people, oh man, I just love the Minor League podcast, you and Sam and Ben and all of that. And that's very cool. So I think people are expecting nothing different from us other than tap dancing and talking about food for a little while at the start of a big and different episode. But it is December 2nd, 2021, and Major League Baseball and the Major League Players Association are officially in a work stoppage for the first time since 1994-95. And that means obviously a little bit of a different reality for all of us at the MLB.com side. It does not necessarily mean a very different reality for this podcast specifically. And we'll get into that and explain it why. I am, as anyone who has tuned into this show is aware, I'm not in the office in New York City. You two guys are. So we're going to talk about kind of where things stand as of today. But I think we're going to ultimately hit and hammer the point that for us on the minor league side, it's largely business as usual at the moment. The podcast will stay pretty much the same. We'll get to cover a lot of the same stuff and have more of our nonsensical conversations. But Sam, you want to just kind of lay out where we sit right now?
Yeah. So things are going to be a little bit different during the work stoppage, as Tyler just mentioned there. But one great thing about this is that we are the Minor League Baseball podcast. Minor League Baseball is not affected by the lockout for all intents and purposes. If the work stoppage were to continue into April or May, Lord knows none of us want that on either side, on any side. But Minor League Baseball would still exist going into the 2022 season. That's not going to be affected. Next week, the major league portion of the winter meetings has been canceled, but the minor league side will continue, and our own Kelsey Hennigan will be down there covering that for us. So we can talk to her about that going forward. There is a transactions freeze, at least on the major league side right now. So we can't talk about free agent signings and how they affect teams, or trades and how they affect teams. Those aren't going to happen for a while until this ends. But all that said, we can bring you, like we're bringing you an interview this week with the Number Tamer, talking about minor league attendance. We still have the ballpark guides that are going to be ongoing that you can visit on the website. There are a lot of angles in which to cover minor league baseball. We've gone through, tough times last year of like, what are we going to talk about without baseball going on? If you stuck with us through that, stick with us through this. We're still going to be with you all off season, leading into the 2022 season, and bringing you a lot of fun stuff to talk about that, is allowed here. If you go to MLB.com, you can kind of see that there is a note about what content can be. It's going to be a lot more history focused. It's going to be a lot more minor league focused, and we fit in one of those buckets pretty well. So we're glad to have you back this week. I know we took off last week for Thanksgiving. We wanted to come back this week to kind of be with you guys and know that this is a weird week, but hopefully weird weeks are going to be fewer and fewer as we go forward, but we won't know until the work stoppage officially comes to an end.
So my meeting controls on Zoom went away, so I wasn't able to unmute my mic. We've been doing this for a long time. I still can't find the correct buttons to do things. The Number Tamer is a name that minor league baseball fans are probably familiar with, and yet maybe don't know everything behind. But you guys got a chance to speak with the Number Tamer. Ben, tell us about this conversation and kind of where the inspiration for becoming the Number Tamer, like a superhero movie, became.
It's a superhero origin story.
I am to become the Number Tamer. It's
Yeah,
a very
I think
famous quote.
I don't know how well known David Kronheim is to the average fan, but I think people who are really immersed in the industry and minor league baseball and professional baseball attendance, and who really like that kind of information, might be familiar with him. Numbertamer.com is his website, and we're going to cover it all in the interviews, so don't want to be too redundant with it. But his latest report came out just recently over the last couple of weeks. He's been doing professional baseball attendance reports for over 2 decades. And even though he does it on his own and, not through any other entity, and makes them available for free, I mean, it's clearly a labor of love, but I've never seen, through all these myriad internet sources, I've never seen anything that comes close to David Kronheim, a.k.a. the Number Tamer, in terms of level of detail and information you can find in his reports. And if you just like parsing minor league baseball, professional baseball attendance, it's a great resource. So get psyched. We're going to talk to him. Here on the Show Before the Show podcast, I, Ben Hill, and sitting to my left, Sam Dykstra, are joined by a very special guest, David Kronheim, a.k.a. the Number Tamer. And if you work in minor league baseball or major league baseball, or if you're just interested in baseball attendance, David releases annual attendance reports since 1998, really going deep into the specifics of baseball attendance, and it's a great resource, something I've used as a resource in my own writing for many years, and we want to have him on today just to talk about a very interesting year in baseball, attendance and otherwise. So, David, thanks so much for being here.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here, and I hope I can provide some useful information.
Well, to start, you are the Number Tamer, your website, the Number Tamer. Could you speak a little bit about how that nickname came about and how you got involved in putting together some of the most detailed baseball attendance reports anyone would be able to find anywhere?
Well, I started my career as a sportscaster in college many, many years ago, and then got into the advertising business as a market research analyst and also as a copywriter specializing in doing funny radio commercials. But I worked on a lot of sports-related accounts like Foot Locker, Lady Foot Locker, Champ Sports, and they did a lot of advertising with sports, used players in their ads. And I was once asked, did I know what markets that had Champ stores also had minor league baseball teams? And I said, sure, I could find that out very easily. And just put that list together, and also I threw in attendance. I thought they might like to know that. And eventually I was working as a freelancer, still working for that same ad agency, and you're trying to expand your business. So as a creative person, I had what they call a reel, a tape of my TV ads, radio commercials. As a market research analyst, I had a lot of reports that I had written, but they all had confidential data in it. I couldn't share it, but I could share baseball attendance information, and that's where it really started out, as just writing something to provide a sample of my work that didn't have confidential data. What I found is that people enjoyed reading about it. The reactions I get from people is, oh, I love minor league baseball. I went to minor league baseball games when I was a kid. It really was a lot of fun experience for me. And I just kept expanding and expanding on it. And these days, with the internet, it's so much easier to get a lot of information. And this thing just grew and grew and grew.
Yeah, and the reports are available for free on numbertamer.com. As I said, a great resource. But here in 2021, or as we look back on the 2021 season, safe to say a season a season unlike any other, with obviously coming back from COVID and all the late start to the season, the capacity restrictions, combined with the larger reorganization of minor league baseball with less teams in new leagues. So you've been doing this for over 2 decades and often comparing one year to the last and recognizing big trends. But this year kind of threw a lot of that out the window. What was your takeaways from doing an attendance report in minor league baseball for this very anomalous season?
Well, first of all, from both Major League and minor league baseball, unlike other years where I will write, well, this team drew this in 2021, they drew whatever it was in 2020, let's say, and this is an increase of this much and a percentage increase or decrease of that much. I took that all out. I just mentioned the 2019 attendance. I never got into how much it was up, how much it was down, because that's totally misleading, and I'll get to that in a moment as to why it is. With the minor leagues, I did the same thing, stayed away from those kinds of comparisons. Plus, you had the entire reorganization, not only of the Major League affiliated leagues, but also of the independent leagues. You had 2 affiliated leagues, the Mexican League and the Pioneer League, that now became MiLB partner affiliated leagues. And so this has been quite hard to do. It's not simply being able to overwrite the previous year's report. So it's been a little more of a challenge, but I still enjoy doing it.
Yeah, and in doing that, I mean, like, one thing that's going to stand out, I know you said you didn't do comparisons for that just because of the crazy year of 2020 and all that was happening. But did you look into, like, a lot of minor league stadiums opened this year with 40% capacity, 50% capacity, what have you, and how that kind of factored in? Like, how did you look at the first half of the year and kind of bake that into your analysis?
Okay, I did not do it with the minor leagues because sometimes it's hard to find the information. When did they go to full capacity? But I did it with the major leagues because I was able to, through the major league statistics system that I have access to and able as a member of the media. And so I was able to do that and come up, for example, in the major leagues, the full capacity, when they were able to go to full capacity, major league games averaged 24,051 per date. The all games average was 18,908. So I was able to break this out. If you go by, obviously when they didn't have full capacity, it was very, very small, much, much smaller. But once they got to full capacity, it still was below 2019, but obviously a significant improvement. One of the things that I think I stayed away from, again, doing the 2021 versus 2019 comparison was, and this was true in both the major leagues and minor leagues, the teams with the biggest declines in total attendance were the teams that normally draw best because they had the most to lose because of the reduced capacity, because of, in some cases, a shorter season, late start to a season, and the uncertainties. It was hard to prepare promotions and so many things that are a part, especially of minor league baseball, group sales. And it was hard to do that. You didn't know, when is the season going to start? Are they going to play? What's the capacity going to be? And that really had a significant effect on attendance as well.
Yeah, and looking at it from the other end, some of the successes here, specifically when it comes to minor league baseball, I want to point out 3 that you highlight in your report, which were in Worcester, Kannapolis, and Rocket City. All 3 places opening up new ballparks. But not only seeing like strong attendance numbers for this year especially, but basically any year. It seems like Worcester beat out anything that Pawtucket would have had, and Rocket City beat out certainly what they used to have, but any team from the Huntsville area used to have. What did you kind of notice about trends in those areas and how much a new ballpark helped them even in 2021?
Oh, those are huge, considering the fact that these teams drew better with a shorter season and all of the uncertainties, and they still drew better than what they drew either in the old ballpark or in their former cities in 2019. It's not surprising, but it's still quite an accomplishment. My thought was that if this had been a normal season in minor league baseball, and if last year had been normal with the new ballparks and the relocations, plus the Mexican League adding 2 new teams, that minor league baseball, at least what were affiliated teams in 2019, had a really good chance of setting an all-time attendance record, either in total attendance or average per date or both. And those new ballparks, that is really part of what has driven the incredible growth in minor league baseball attendance over the past 30 years. New ballparks and new markets.
And as somebody who has studied this for, like you said, close to 3 decades now, you've seen multiple new ballparks open, and then what happens after that. So when we were talking about these places in Worcester, Kannapolis, Rocket City, I know you don't do necessarily projections, but when you look forward, and in 2022, knock on wood, can be even more normal, do you think they could even build on these based off what you've seen previously, or does it usually tail off after that first season?
Well, they will build this year. I would guess that all of these teams will have increases in attendance because they're going to play a longer schedule. And the fact that, again, you don't have the uncertainties. They might not be starting off. In Worcester, as well as they did, they started off with restricted attendance. And once they got to full capacity, they were basically selling out every game. And so I would think being able to do that over a full season and a longer season, you're going to see increases in attendance. The other question about how does this continue, well, Yogi Berra once said it's tough to make predictions, especially about the future. And I get asked to make predictions at times, and I said, you can be sure of one thing, half the time at least I'll be wrong. And there really is no set answer. In some places, like for example, we've seen it in Nashville and Charlotte, they open up a new ballpark, Indianapolis going back to a team that opened a new ballpark in the mid-'90s. And they draw incredibly well, and the attendance stays that way. It goes up and down a little bit, in part because of weather. Sometimes it helps if you have a really good team. You might be hurt a bit if your team is really bad, although in the minor leagues, that's not, one-loss record is not that much of a factor. But sometimes these teams draw very, very well, and they stay that way. Other times, and I make this available to anyone who wants it, it's all free, I created a database showing yearly total attendance and yearly average per date for every current minor league city, going back as far as I could go back, and in some cases it goes back more than 100 years. And if you look at the patterns of when they open a new ballpark, again, some draw very well for a long period of time, for good really, and some they draw very well for a year or two, and then the attendance plummeted. You mentioned Rocket City, which is in Madison, Alabama, just outside of Huntsville. The former team in Huntsville drew 300,000 their first year. And then their attendance just plunged, and it was really, really bad before the team ended up moving. The same thing happened to the team in Mobile, Alabama, which is now the team that became Rocket City. They drew very well in the beginning, and again, had a new ballpark, and the attendance eventually went way, way down. Other teams draw very well at the beginning. The attendance comes down a little bit, and then it basically plateaus. And they still draw well, but not quite as well as they did their first season.
Yeah, and you made the relevant point, David, that the teams that had the biggest drops in attendance were the ones that had the most to lose, because if they're drawing a lot of people and then they suddenly can't for various reasons, then they're going to lose the most. But yet, the two teams that had the best attendance in all of minor league baseball, were top drawing teams in previous years as well. We had number 1 in all of minor league baseball in the AAA East, the Nashville Sounds, and number 2 in the AAA West, the Las Vegas Aviators. What do you think contributed to their success, or how they were able to overcome, the baked-in challenges to the 2021 season?
What happened to them was simply why the same reasons they drew very well in 2021 were the same reasons they've drawn well before. Well, for Las Vegas, it's a relatively recent phenomenon, and getting into a new ballpark, and the same thing with Nashville. And the new ballpark help in attendance hasn't worn off in any of these places yet. So it's really the same thing. They just had fewer dates, and they had to probably deal with some attendance restrictions, capacity restrictions at the start. So that's not surprising. But I can tell you, if you look at the teams with the biggest declines in total attendance, of the 10 of the 13 teams with the biggest declines drew over 500,000 in 2019. Simply put, the teams that had the biggest declines were the teams that had the most to lose from the uncertainty and from the reduced capacity restrictions, and they did. And it's the example I give in my report is if you take a team, if you have 2 ballparks and they're each at reduced capacity of 3,000, and one has a team that averages 8,000 per date for a season, and the other one has a team that averages 2,500, the team that averages 8,000 is going to be hurt a lot more by a reduced capacity restriction, and that's what happened. It happened in the major leagues as well. The teams that were down 1 million in total attendance, with the exception of the Arizona Diamondbacks, these were all the top draws in the majors: the Red Sox, the Angels, Dodgers, Yankees, Cubs, Cardinals, the Giants. And you know that if it had been a regular season, these teams would have all done, or almost all of them would have done really, really well. I think the Dodgers might have drawn 4 million for one thing.
Yeah, and speaking of how attendance is tallied, I saw an interesting note in your report that the Pecos League, which is a pretty low-level independent league, is the only league in all of professional baseball to not include no-shows in their attendance reports, meaning that all the other teams and leagues, they report tickets sold for attendance, but that doesn't necessarily translate to people showing up at the ballpark. Does that aspect get tricky to break down, or is there any way to find out who's actually in the ballpark on any given night? And what are your thoughts on how teams quantify attendance in that way?
I always use that as a qualifier. I can only report the attendance that they announce. There is no way for me to know how many people are in the ballpark. Also, a lot of announced attendance in both the majors and minors includes fans who are getting in for free. In fact, the Miami Marlins, one of the reasons their attendance was basically cut in half a few years ago wasn't that the attendance was half of what it was, but they decided not to count all those fans that were getting in for free, the kids and sometimes the senior citizens and other people that were either getting in for free or at huge discounts. And they pointed that out to me, and that's why in my report I'll have like a box that explains all of that. And different teams sometimes use different criteria to report attendance, and I can't really know what each one is, but there is no way for me to ever even guess how many people are in the ballpark. And I've been to games where they announce attendance, and you know that there aren't anywhere close to that number of people in the ballpark. But again, all I can do is go by what they announce. As far as the Pecos League goes, they're a league. They actually set an attendance record this year, total attendance and average per day. They play in very small markets, in very, very small facilities, but still, that's a tremendous accomplishment. But they only count fans in the stands, so you'd have to figure their number of tickets they sell is probably a little higher than what it is. But there's absolutely no way to know. The teams do know it, but there's no way for me to know how many people actually are in the stands overall at a game.
And David, this will be the last one for me. In compiling these reports, this document that I would have in front of me about 2021 minor league attendance mixed in with major league attendance and independent leagues is 61 pages. Like you said, you have data going back, in some cases, 100 years on how attendance has waxed and waned in certain cities. So as you kind of notice these trends, we talked about them, a few of them. Some of them are easy as opening up a new stadium. But if a team is going to come to you and say, like, in 2023, we want to maybe set an attendance record, based off what you've seen historically, what is a good practice to make that happen? And I use 2023 because hopefully, we're really past the pandemic at that point. But is it as simple as just opening up a new stadium, or are there some other trends you notice to make that happen?
Opening a new stadium would be the biggest factor of anything, and that I've noticed that has had the biggest, either teams relocating. I could go two ways and say relocate to another market, but I don't think that's the something that would apply to almost all teams. You hate to see teams leave a market anyway. But the biggest one would be opening a new stadium. Also, what happens now, and this is something that's relatively new, and that is the teams are getting rebranded. They're getting new nicknames, new logos, new mascots. And that, for a lot of teams, seems to help. And one thing they do is they sell a lot of merchandise. These team names, they're coming in, and I'm trying to remember which. It was either the Wichita Wind Surge or it was the Rocket City Trash Pandas who sold $1 million worth of merchandise before they ever played a game. And you think about it, in the minor leagues, that's a lot of sales. And so I would say those two things, rebrand or new ballparks. And then, of course, there are different promotions you can run, although most minor league teams run that. And Ben probably knows this better than anyone because he reports on this, and if you read his reports, you really learn about the different promotions that teams run to get people into the ballpark. They make it a lot of fun. That's what makes minor league baseball so much fun. It's coming to the games is nice, but all the other activities that are around it. And so that would probably be the best way. The one thing now in the major leagues, you could say new ballpark and a winning team. In the minor leagues, winning and losing is really a very small factor. So my thing would be a new stadium helps, but you can't get that very often. A rebranding, promotions. Ask the fans what they want. Try to find out. It might be something as simple as game time. When would you like to have more day games? That's another quick point I want to make. In 2021 in the minor leagues, a very big promotional thing in the minor leagues in recent years have been school days and camp days where they play games at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and bring in a lot of children from schools during the summer from camps. There was very little of that in 2021 because of the uncertainty. And I have a table where I show the number of these games on the original schedules in previous years and how there was maybe like 1/5 that number in 2021. And you're building fans for the future with that. When you get these kids into the ballpark, those are your fans of the future, and you hope they come back again.
Yeah, and what you're just hitting on there, David, is just how much there is to break down, and you can go into a seemingly endless rabbit hole when you're analyzing 2021 or any season's baseball attendance, especially in the minor leagues. But you put in untold, who knows, thousands of hours into it. Do you get feedback from people in the industry or questions, or have you found yourself in collaboration with people in baseball who read these reports and want to know more?
Oh, sure. I hear from people all the time, people I've known for years, and I've always told them any questions, any way that I can be of help, and they provide me with data. I return and provide them with some things, and I'm ready to help anyone who wants it. I mention in my report always there's a line that says suggestions, questions, and corrections are always welcome, and corrections are because when you do this kind of a report, but when I do my full reports, they combine to about 500 pages, and in 500 pages, you're going to make typos that you won't find. There might be changes. I'll give you a quick example of one. One of the teams in the Midwest League, I had mentioned in my report that they were community-owned, and they were profitable, and their attendance was rather low, but the people who worked the games were volunteers, and so their expenses were low. Well, I got a comment from one of the other teams in the league that said, by the way, we're also community-owned, and we're also profitable, and I put that in. I told them, okay, I'm going to update my report. I'm going to put that in as well. That's another thing that I can't know. Is a team profitable? I have no way of knowing that.
Yeah, there's so much to break down. You're hitting on questions that I'm always trying to find out, with mixed results. But David Kronheim, the Number Tamer, you can check out numbertamer.com. Again, for anyone who works in the industry or is just a fan who really likes to, really analyze what's going on in the industry, it's a great resource and all available for free, publicly available. I've used it for years. And David, really appreciate you coming on the podcast and talking with Sam and I.
Okay, well, thank you. Just want to remind everyone, besides what you see on numbertamer.com, you can go to the minor league page, the major league page, and download previous year's reports if you want that. But I also have so much other data, and if there's a question and I have something that I can provide, it's done. It's all free. So just ask, and I gladly send it. I send it to anyone. You don't have to work in baseball either to get it. I have students who actually are taking classes in sports administration who contact me. Everybody gets it for free, and hopefully it's helpful.
Well, there you have it. Hit up the Number Tamer with any questions. Again, it's a great resource, and thanks again, David.
Well, thank you very much, and I look forward to reading your reports on your travels. I'm envious when I read about that because I've been to a lot of those ballparks, but not nearly as many as you've been to, and I always read that and wish I could be there too.
Hey, well, I appreciate it, and looking to get back out there in 2022.
Same with me. Okay, thank you very much.
All right, listen up, Nacho Chips. quiet down, crispy potatoes. This is the moment Velveeta's been preparing you for, and you're not about to crack under pressure. Today's the day to go all in on the drip. Velveeta's Heat and Eat Queso is the MVP of any game day spread, so stick by them, and you'll be golden. Now get out there and make delicious history. No tailgate party is complete without Velveeta.
Well, that was our interview with the Number Tamer. And coming out of that, just want to say to everybody, season's greetings, fans. MiLB Store is spreading holiday cheer and bringing back 12 days of gifting. Take a spin each day between December 1st, which is 2 days before you guys heard this podcast, and December 12th, so you have a little bit of time still, to receive up to 35% off on select team items. Each day brings a new product category to save on. Spin and enter daily for your chance to win a $100 e-gift card from MiLBstore.com. Exclusions may apply. Visit MiLBstore.com for official rules.
So the season of gifting is here. I haven't yet purchased a single holiday gift for anyone, so maybe I'll visit MiLBstore.com. But fellas, let's talk about what else we've got coming up on the site. The Ballpark Guide series continues, and we've all been tackling those from week to week. I'm currently working on the Winston-Salem Dash, the Winston-Salem Dash. But the Altoona Curve was my most recent one. Ben, what about you? What's been the latest? I know you were at Syracuse was one of the most recent ones. What else is going on?
Yeah, I did Syracuse, NBT Bank Stadium, and following that was the Las Vegas Aviators, Las Vegas Ballpark.
Right.
That is up wherever Ballpark Guides are sold right now. As you said, the Ballpark Guides will be in a dedicated landing page in the near future, but for now, you can find them on MiLB's fan section. It's MiLB.com/fans/ballpark-guide. So MiLB.com, Ballpark Guides. We're slowly and steadily doing them all. And the last one that I had to appear on the site was Las Vegas, the Aviators. I went there along with our good friend Josh Jackson in 2019. So had a lot of fresh memories and material to add to that one. And working on Fresno right now, Chuck Chanzy Park. And that will be up in the nearish future for sure. And speaking of our good friend Josh Jackson, he has a San Jose Ballpark Guide, Excite Ballpark, that is now up and part of the project. And you definitely want to read Josh Jackson when he talks about San Jose, because that's an old ballpark and Josh Jackson likes old things.
Yeah, there's one thing I want to bring up real quick in terms of San Jose, because you've been there.
I love that ballpark.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, you have a tweet included in Josh's write-up here, which is great. And I highly recommend viewing these on like the biggest screen possible, because the production is stellar. But also there's just so many big pictures of the ballpark, and you can really get a sense, a feel for these places. But San Jose is like a big city that now hosts a minor league park. Like you said, it's an old one, but how does that kind of fit in? Like sometimes when we're talking about these lower levels that used to be Class A advanced, now it's low A, we think of these smaller towns. But San Jose is a giant city in its own. It's a National Hockey League city as well. So like, how does San Jose kind of fit in with the Giants?
Well, it is an interesting, I mean, it's great proximity wise, and the fact that so many San Jose Giants fans are just naturally, fans of the parent club in San Francisco. So it's great from that perspective. But yeah, it is strange. This is at this point, low A West franchise, the lowest level of minor league baseball, but they're playing in a city, the San Jose Giants are, that, as Sam said, has an NHL team and that has an actual population bigger than San Francisco itself. So it's unique in that regard. There were, rumors and machinations and maneuvering to maybe, this is years ago, maybe try to move the San Francisco Giants to San Jose. So
and the Oakland A's. There was discussion of that at one point too.
And Oakland A's, absolutely. So it's funny. So if San Jose for baseball is not a major league market, but they were building a new stadium today, that almost certainly would be for a AAA team. But this ballpark, now called Excite Ballpark, but like so many ballparks built of its era, initially called Municipal Stadium, it's a WPA era ballpark, built with New Deal money, and just a historic, classic, awesome ballpark. So definitely an anomaly in terms of how old it is within the city that it is located and how much that city has grown since the ballpark opened. But to see that team in San Jose still thriving is a lot of fun, and it does make it a unique place to visit. And actually, when Josh Jackson was working on this San Jose ballpark guide, he emailed me an interesting question. He said, I think San Jose has a higher population than San Francisco. That's got to be the only case, right, of a minor league club having a larger population than its major league affiliate. And I started racking my brain, and I came up with two off the top of my head that turned out to be correct. But the aforementioned Las Vegas Aviators are the AAA affiliate of the Oakland A's. Las Vegas has a larger population than Oakland. And San Antonio, AA San Diego. San Antonio now at this juncture in time has a larger population than San Diego. And then some interesting ones that now, Josh and I started to really think about this. Indianapolis actually has a larger population than Pittsburgh, AAA Indianapolis than Pittsburgh, and AAA Columbus has a larger population than Cleveland.
I'm glad. I was going to guess that last one. I'm very glad that was correct. Columbus.
And there might be others. And of course, other things go into this with the market itself. It's not just about, hard and fast population in one city that justifies whether one thing is major league or one thing is minor league. But I do think it speaks to shifting demographics, and that a lot of these cities that we think of as inherently major league are because they established themselves as major league during a very different time in America in terms of where the population centers were. So it's a fun thing to explore.
There are some pretty amazing photos in this story that Josh has up on the site right now. There's one from the 2021 Low A playoffs, the Low A West playoffs, that is just stunning. A sunset picture with, I believe that's Visalia in town, taking on San Jose. That is just a gorgeous shot. There's a picture of Madison Bumgarner and Buster Posey in their 2009 season as members of the San Jose Giants. Josh, has been noted, it's a WPA ballpark, and Josh has a phrase in which he calls Excite Ballpark, quote, a works progress administration poem in concrete, which is just beautiful. And finally, if you have never seen Josh Jackson's headshot that adorns the top of all of his stories, it makes me laugh hysterically every single time I see it. So you should check out that story because it is fantastic.
I always feel like he's judging me. Like, I love reading Josh's stuff, and then he's like just staring at me, judging me for reading his stuff. It's like, Josh, you do great work.
It's so when we started with MLB.com earlier this year, when they kind of merged our operations from the MiLB side and the pipeline side, they had us submit new headshots for our taglines and being tagged as the authors of stories. And Josh, I had the conversation with Josh, like, what's the deal with this picture, buddy? And I think he said something to the effect of like, oh, I didn't realize that was going to be going up on every single story that I wrote, but now I don't know how to change it. And it's just fantastic, and it makes me so happy.
It's part of his brand now. We have
right, exactly. It's as though he's just heard like a slightly inappropriate joke. Like that's the face that he's making. Like he's judging you for laughing at it, but it's just great. Mine, fun fact about my headshot picture, cropped out of that picture is MLB Network's John Paul Morosi. But great story on Excite Ballpark that is up on the site right now. I've got one on People's Natural Gas Field, the home of the Altoona Curve, singular, not the Altoona Curves. Although maybe there was a Curves in Altoona. Do Curves still exist? Those workout places? I don't know. That's a tangent.
Oh, I was like, where are you going with this? Curves still exist? That
was one of our running jokes when I worked in Altoona, was the people who would call them the Curves, plural. But a story that is coming to the site. It's been done, just waiting to be published, so you can check out that one for some fun stuff to find around Altoona. Ben, what do you have coming up next? You just rolled out Syracuse and Vegas. What's on your timeline?
Yeah, Fresno is the next one.
Chuck Chansey, you said that,
Yep.
and it fell out of my brain.
It never hurts to repeat things.
Yeah, sure.
Repetition.
I'm with you. I am, working on Winston-Salem, and that one I'm excited to get a chance to roll out. I haven't been to Winston-Salem in a very long time, but it was one of my favorite ballparks when I was working in the Carolina League. And Truist Stadium is now the name of that park. It was one of the many minor league ballparks that was named for BB&T Bank for a while, and now different naming rights sponsored there. But Winston-Salem, very cool city in the cradle of minor league baseball in the Carolinas. So we got those coming up as well. And speaking of Josh Jackson, our good friend whose headshot makes it look like he just smelled a bad can of tuna fish, he's coming up with Ghosts of the Minors next.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Interrupt this podcast to bring you another thrilling edition of Ghosts of the Minors. Now, here's your correspondent and host, Joshua Jackson.
Welcome back to Ghosts of the Minors, in which all of you out there in Radioland must identify the legitimate historical ball club hiding amidst the fraudulent pair. One once had a number one fan and then some. Something about the others just doesn't add up. In the last segment, I asked you which of the following minor league baseball teams did at one time exist. A, the Centralia Zeros. B, the Port St. Joe Lucky Sevens. C, the Niles 59ers. If you guessed B or C, it was all for naught, as A, the Centralia Zeros, made their time count in the Mississippi-Ohio Valley League in 1951 and 1952. Starting not from nothing, but from a franchise created as the Centralia Cubs in the Illinois State League in 47, the Zeros had everything to lose when they changed their name from the Centralia Sterlings after taking first place in 1950. Taking their new name from a sponsor, the Zero White Chocolate and Nougat Bar, manufactured in Centralia by the Hollywood Brands Candy Company, the Zeros had a pretty sweet thing going in the first season with the moniker, winding up in second place. Playing their home games at Fans Field, a park built for a reported $63,000 in the inaugural 1947 season, the 51 Zeros were helmed by player-manager Lou Zeke Bakiza, a holdover from the Cubs era, and went 69-51 and lost in the opening round of the playoffs. After finishing without much in their first season as the Zeros, they got zilch in their second, going 41-83 to end up 7th out of 8, with only the lowly team from Mattoon, Illinois, finishing less than 0. Team officials had considered taking the Zero name away before the start of that year, but decided against that subtraction. The Centralia Evening Sentinel of that March 27 detailed a meeting at the Langenfield Hotel in which the team's board of directors voted in favor of continuing to make the most of the Zeros. The paper reported, Frank T. Egan, advertising manager for Hollywood Brands, Inc., attended the meeting and contributed a substantial sum of money to the club. It's possible fans found those backdoor deals with candy dealers unsavory. According to a 1963 Centralia Sentinel look at the town's baseball history, interest waned and the club was disbanded after 52. Ending the professional era here. The Zero Candy Bar, however, lived on, and after a series of corporate maneuvers, exists today as a Hershey's product. The next time you bite into a Zero, you'll have much to think about. And that's what the Zeros amounted to. Now, on to the question for next time. Which of these nonsensical complex combos played it up in the minors of yesteryear? A, the Benton Harbor Orange Wires. B, the Pine Point Goose Gunners. C, the Fort Walton Beach Jets. Want to know the answer? Keep it simple, smarty. Or tune into the next Ghosts of the Minors. But for now, you'll have to excuse me. My producer Ben Hill just bet his last buck on the old gray mare, and she ain't what she used to be.
Big thanks to our friend Josh Jackson for swinging by another episode of the show before the show. And that'll do it for this week's episode. We're in somewhat uncharted waters, but as noted at the beginning, we are going to continue pushing forward with all the minor league content that you have grown to know and love from this show. So did I miss anything? We literally, like 30 seconds ago, were like, what else should we cover in this last segment? I've already forgotten.
The only thing I want to bring up to both of you, because Ben is still here. Ben is not usually around for this final segment. Could a team be named the Zeros today? Even if it was named after a candy bar?
Well, I don't think you have a sponsored team name anymore.
No, but just like, there was another reason. For some reason, that just seems like that's never going to happen again.
The Zeros. It's a cool name. Who, was it in the Art of Fielding that was Henry's glove named Zero? I believe that's what it was. I'm being.
We can save that for another day of my Art of Fielding takes, because I have Art of Fielding takes.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, what?
I don't know what it was, but a lot of people told me this book was made for you, and then I read it and I was like, I need to look into some stuff, because
you didn't like the Art of Fielding?
It didn't hit me in the way it hit a lot of other people.
What? I am stunned by this news.
This could be a preview for future podcasts. So
Wow.
leave you on that cliffhanger.
Interesting. Maybe we should do a little baseball book club. That'd be fun.
That would be fun.
Wow, I am genuinely stunned by that.
Yeah. We'll talk off mic.
Okay.
We'll organize my thoughts.
Also, is that Field of Beans behind you? Is that where you guys are right now? Oh,
Field of Beans is on a different floor.
never mind. Field of Beans is the name of the coffee shop inside the MLB headquarters, and I'm not making that up. But I saw like some hanging can lights there, and I thought of the one time when I was able to get coffee at Field of Beans, and I was very excited about it. I thought that was it behind you, but it's not. So never mind. Would love making comments on visual things on an audio podcast. Anyway, Sam and I are going to go debate Chad Harbach's masterpiece, The Art of Fielding. And for Benjamin Hill and Sam Dykstra and Joshua Jackson, my name is Tyler Vaughn. We'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, I didn't like that book either.
Wow.